What's up, guys? Crazy Star Wars Fan 108 here, and I'm back with another video. Today, guys, I'm going to give you a review of the very first issue of the brand new Darth Vader comic from Marvel. And it was a pretty good issue. I don't know where to begin, but let's kind of backtrack for a bit. Going back to 2015, Marvel got the license for the Star Wars comic books from Dark Horse, and they got the license like maybe a year prior, but then they started releasing them in the start of 2015. And they did a Darth Vader comic book series that took place like shortly after the destruction of the first Death Star. And we had a 25 issue series that told one really nice cohesive story, and it was really good, and it told the story I wanted to tell, and then it ended. And that is a thing that you don't see with something that makes a lot of money usually, is that it tells a story it wants to tell, it gets to the point, and it ends. That's amazing, and it's great, and so I love that. But now we have a new Darth Vader series coming out, starting from issue 1. At first, when I heard it announced, I was a little hesitant about it, but then when I found out where it was going, I got super pumped, because it's going to cover, not sure how far they're going to go into it, but the first issue starts immediately where we basically last see Vader at the end of episode 3. Not on the Star Destroyer bridge, but potentially before that, which will be interesting, because I'm wondering how the timelines, everything with that and stuff, but it's going to be very cool nonetheless. There's been some controversy about it in terms of like canon and the film, and like, well, the film's line is this, and there's that and this, and I'm just going to talk about that real quick and then get into like the really good like parts of the issue. The main thing there was that, Vader, he goes, he's like, where's Padme? She's safe. Is she alright? And the Emperor's like, it seems in your anger, you killed her. No, she was alive. I felt it. And he starts getting really mad and, straining. And he breaks from the thing and he screams, no! And then we cut to Naboo. Well, the issue starts off showing Vader thinking about, like, his last few memories as when he was Anakin. And him saying no. Like, it has him say, like, no 4 or 5 times. And it has him say no, and it has, like, a period. And at the same moment, though, he's throwing Palpatine up against the wall with the Force. Let's just make this really clear and simple. If we want to argue that, like, oh, it's altering the dialogue, okay, sure, if you want to take that approach. But if you want to think about it in, like, a different way to make it fit, not that, in my opinion, it's pretty clear that it still fits, is that he's saying, like, no in his head because he's thinking over. And the period just, because it is him, he just says no, and in this moment after he breaks free, he kneels down and he says no again, potentially, or it's a continuation right after that, and he says no because he's upset, and he flings Palpatine up against the wall. And so they have a conversation basically about the fact that, like, you told me you had the power to save her, and Palpatine says you ended up taking a different path, but she gave you a gift, pain. And through that pain, it's going to help make you stronger. Pain, suffering, all these different things leads to the dark side, right? And in that moment, Anakin, or now Darth Vader, decides to release Palpatine. And Palpatine immediately hits him with Force Lightning. And the panels are really cool. It's really pretty because you just see all this anger and all this power that Palpatine has. He's using it on Vader, and he's telling Vader, like, where's your lightsaber? Like, use it to defend yourself. And he explains to him that I lost the lightsaber. Obi-Wan took it from me once he defeated me. And then Palpatine basically goes on to say to him, like, well, you need to get a lightsaber and stuff. And he also goes and tells him that if you ever use, I understand, like, you've had a rough period here for a while, but he pulls his lightsaber on and he says, if you ever harm me again with the Force, or touch me again with the Force, I will finish the job that Kenobi couldn't finish himself. And I'm just like, dog, that's... But then the cool thing is, after that, he lets Anakin get up. I'm just going to keep calling him Anakin for right now, because it's that Revenge of the Sith period right there, so I feel like he's not fully broken yet. And because also, too, this is an interesting part for me as well, I find that when you look at the dialogue, when people write dialogue for Vader, there's this fine line of, like, Vader dialogue mixed with kind of like the way Anakin talked, but somewhat separate, so it's kind of cool. But they basically go out to see that Mas Amende or Amade, I can't pronounce things right at all, so, by all means, make fun of me in the comment section down below. But he's having, like, this, he's having, like, maybe like a press meeting or however you want to look at it, but he's basically, it's him yelling out on what appears to maybe be the Jedi Temple, because it's getting turned into, it does get changed into the Imperial Palace, I believe. But the cool thing is that you see him talking about how, like, you know, we're free of the oppression of the Jedi and their plot with the Separatists and all stuff. But the clone troopers have this giant, like, box full of a ton of lightsabers. And during this time, Palpatine's telling him, like, you know, you need to get a lightsaber. And he's like, Sith's lightsaber isn't any different from a Jedi's lightsaber. They also use kyber crystals. Any lightsaber do, but the difference is you force the crystal to bleed, which I haven't read the novel yet, but I have it over there on my shelf. Was first referenced apparently in the Ahsoka novel, and that started a whole conversation of how does that work, how does that make sense, and you have to. It's not just like by holding it for a while, having it in your possession does it start to bleed, but you force it to bleed. So Vader has to get a Jedi's lightsaber crystal and force it to bleed. And the cool thing too in this moment is the last lightsaber that he pulls out of his coat is Yoda's lightsaber, which shows officially in canon at least that Yoda did not retrieve his lightsaber at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Instead, it was left, and he just got out of there as fast as he could. And the lightsaber was then destroyed. Now, the kyber crystals are alive, which is something that we kind of know as well throughout other forms of media in the Star Wars universe. And Palpatine talks about, you know, you just have to force it to bleed. And the thing is, when they do light all the kyber crystals on fire, it causes this massive just eruption and bursts up into the sky. And Vader even makes a comment about how, I understand, you could have given me any one of those lightsabers, even Yoda's, I could have forced it to bleed. Instead, that's not how a Sith gets his lightsaber. A Sith's lightsaber is taken. Or basically like earned. So they go to this planet. I'm not sure if they mentioned the planet name when we were going here. No, because it just says the Mid-Rim. And it doesn't say what planet it is that they've gone to. But Palpatine takes them to this planet in search of a Jedi to take their kyber crystal from them. Vader has nothing. No gun. No blaster. No like temporary lightsaber or anything. Palpatine just drops him off on this planet. And Palpatine, there was a ship that I left here for you, but this galaxy really is, lawless, my friend. That's why it needs us to strengthen it and give it, give it something to force it to be controlled, And in the process of that, Palpatine just, leaves him there and he says, don't be disheartened, my friend. Use the dark side to your ability, learn how to use it, and use it to your beck and call, basically. And he just leaves them. So Vader then goes out and finds the guys that took the vehicle from him, or the ship. And the ship looks like a mixture between, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It almost looks like Maul's ship, but mixed with something else. It kind of looks familiar, but I can't place it where I've seen it before. And in that moment, Vader goes in and is just attacking these guys, these bandits, pirates that stole the ship with the Force. He uses a bunch of nails and like scrap that's laying around and uses the Force to force push it through their entire body, and that's pretty cool. And then he does get hit though by one blast, but then he just completely force pushes that guy off a cliff. And in my head, like I imagine, of course, it'd be the Wilhelm scream. And he then, I think, force chokes the final guy, and then he gets the ship back, which is very cool. And that's how the first issue ends. The first issue also, though, has a little small story at the end, which everyone wants to know, like, well, where does this go? Is this canon? Is this placement? Well, canon or not, placement or not, all I know is that it happens sometime during this time period because of the type of Star Destroyer he uses. And it's a little short story called No Good Deeds, and it's basically about how a mouse droid that Vader uses is supposed to go and prepare his meditation chamber, and every time the mouse droid's going to do it, Vader basically force chokes somebody and kills them. And when he does that, the mouse droid then has to go take the body away. Yeah. So it keeps on going back and forth, and then finally, at the very end, Vader's like, you're the only one that hasn't failed me at all. And the two mouse droids, the mouse droid then like runs into Vader's leg, and he's like, until now. And then Vader destroys the mouse droid as well, and then he sits in his chamber finally. So it's a little like kind of cute with a dark twist story to it, but I thought the first issue was it was very cool, very fun story, and I'm really excited to see where it's going, because this has a lot of like Force stuff when it comes to the dark side, which we don't really know a lot about at this point, which is very cool. And I also think it's cool because it's seeing conversation between Vader and Palpatine that I really enjoy, but it's a conversation between them that still seems like it's Anakin and Palpatine, you know? It's that friendship, you know, like my friend, all this, you know, like real friendliness, but you really know I've totally manipulated your life, basically, and manipulated everything, and there's nothing you can do to change it. And that's very cool. And I just think it's a very neat way of like showing, of like taking the story and like the direction they're going with it. It's cool and it's fun. I also did get some variant covers. I got this one because I thought it was cool. I picked up the ones that my comic book shop had here in town, and I got the movie cover one, which is just a Vader from Rogue One, which I think is very cool. And this whole first arc apparently is going to be about Vader getting his lightsaber. That's very cool. What I'm curious about is, depending on how far this goes, will this comic retread some territory that the Dark Times, which was the continuation of the Star Wars Republic comic book from Dark Horse, will retread some of that same territory with these stories? Because with the Tarkin novel, we found out that some of those stories, kinda in a sense, were still canon. Not necessarily the stories themselves were all like still canon, but like those stories did in fact still like kind of happen because they're referenced in Tarkin. So that's a cool thing, and for people that, you know, love canon, that's something that you want to check and see. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this first issue. I think the next issue comes out later in this month, actually. I think this is, yeah, like June 21st is when it's supposed to come out. So I'm looking forward to that. And, you know, it's exciting. The Rogue One comic book also came out this week, but I'm not really going to do a review on that. I'm going to do a review on the Screaming Citadel once it finishes as an arc, most likely. Or I may end up doing like individual issue reviews on it as it's coming out. So yeah, though, I want to thank you all for watching this review, guys, and I'll see you guys around in the next one. So may the Force be with you always, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.